Well, hi folks, this is Darren with My RV Works, and if you are new to our channel, I want to welcome you. A lot of folks are leaving comments on different tips and tricks and questions that they have for us as in regards to RV repair. And so Kevin here has a question. I don't know where Kevin's located, so if you ask a question, hey, do us a favor and let us know where you're at. We'll give you a shout out from up here in the Olympic Peninsula. So Kevin's basically got a new RV to him, and it's a 2018, and it's got the Nautilus, which is a suburban on-demand water heater. And when they de-winterized that unit, it was leaking. Okay, so they took it to the dealership, and the dealership basically tightened some fittings. And then he took it camping, and now the city water is leaking, and basically there's all these fittings that are leaking. And so his question is, what's going on with that? And if he's wondering if he should change everything out of the plastic and over into the brass. So what I'm going to do is I've got a little display here for you. I'm going to bring you guys up a little closer, and let's just go through some of these different types of connections, okay? So let's get ready to do that now. Okay, so Kevin, I'm assuming that when you're saying plastic fittings, you might be referring to something like these types of fittings, or maybe some of these, okay? Now, I'll start with this. I'm going to demonstrate these fittings because my point is, I don't think that if you were to change everything over to a brass fitting, that's going to fix your problem. I think the problem is just a good old-fashioned tightening of these fittings. A lot of times, sometimes it just needs to be tightened up a little bit. So this is called a C-Tec fitting. Some people call these a shark bite, but this particular one is a company called C-Tec. And the thing I like about the C-Tec, you need to make sure, okay, so you need to cut this off square, and you need to make sure that it's a perfect round. Like if I had a piece and it was leaking, I keep this in the back of my truck, and the ladder was hanging on it. I went to pull it out, and it skinned a little valley in the pipe. And so when I went to put my fitting on, it was leaking. And so I'm like looking at that. So the beautiful thing about the C-Tec is when you cut this off square, you just basically put it on. Now here, there's a trick. There's an index line right there. And a lot of times I'll take a Sharpie marker or something. I don't have a pin on me. Here's a pin, okay? And a lot of times I'll just make a mark. I'll use a black Sharpie marker. It shows up better. So I know where I'm seated in all the way, okay? And so now that I know that, I need to go in this far, I will just basically push it in, okay? And I'm up to my mark, so I know that I'm in there. We're done. I'm using these throughout my shop to run compressed air, and I run that up to about 150. I can go up to 120, and no problems with any of this. So this does not leak at all, okay? I don't know what the rating is on it. It doesn't tell me what the rating is. But in your RV, you're only ever going to run about 50 PSI. This is overkill for that. Okay, now the thing I like about the C-Tec, you just grab the back collar and just kind of pull it right off, okay? And inside it's got the little teeth that grab it and an O-ring. So that's the C-Tec fitting. Big fan of those. Here, I'll put it right there. The other type of fitting is this style right here, okay? Now this style right here, I see these a lot. If you're going to work on this style of fitting, I would recommend getting one of these tools right here. And if you're going to be working a lot with this, then I would even go so far as to get this tool right here. And let me show you how this works. Oh, the name of these escapes me. Flair-It, I think. These are so that's a C-Tec. This is a Flair-It fitting. So on a Flair-It fitting, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to slide the collar over, okay? And then if you do a lot of these, you'll take this little fancy tool and you stick it in the hole, and then you open it up, okay? And that's going to make this fit in there a lot easier. Okay, and you can just visually see when it's seated. It's a little bulged out a little bit. And then I'm right-handed, so then you just start tightening this, and that's where this tool comes in handy, okay? It's got all these teeth, and then you just start tightening down on it, okay? Okay, and when you get it tightened down, I've never seen these leak either. It's a plastic fitting. Now the ends of these come, like I just grabbed this one out of my kit. This is a female, but they have the male and the unions. Oftentimes when I'm working on a water heater and I have to replace the check valve, they even have these in a check valve variant. So most of my plumbing fittings are going to be the C-Tec types, but I do have some Flair-It types as well. But that is how you would attach those. No leaking going on there. Again, these are rated very high. Now this one I think connects to a garden hose, okay? So there's that type of a fitting. The other type of fit, so I'm going to move these over to right there. Okay, so these two here go with the Flair-It fittings, okay? This doesn't need any tools except a cutter to make it cut nice and clean. If this is on your pipe and you're having a hard time getting this off, if you're going with a 1/2 inch PEX line, that's a 5/8 wrench. You can take a 5/8 wrench, it fits perfectly, a box end wrench, it fits perfectly over there, and that gives you a little bit of leverage to get in there and pull it apart, okay? So I'm pulling back on this collar right here. I'm pulling back on the collar and it comes right out. Now when you buy, let me go back to this, the C-Tec, when you buy it and you put it on, in the bag will come like a little horseshoe looking deal, a clip that you slide in there, and that keeps this thing locked on as a safety feature. Another thing that comes with these, I didn't grab it, but there's an insert that you plug. So when you get this fitting, there's going to be 2 additional parts. One is an insert that you put inside your PEX line, and then you put this on it, and there's a clip that goes to keep this thing from closing. So there's actually 3 parts to these things I didn't mention earlier, okay? So there's that one, okay? So that leaves this one. And then we'll get on brass. Now this one is the kind that uses these rings right there to crimp on. And there's a couple different ways to get these rings off. Sometimes you could cut this little loop. What I found is I take a small pair of channel locks, and if you look here, let me bring it around and I'll show you what I'm looking at. So on these types of fittings, what I want you to look at is you'll see this little piece right here, okay? And let me see if I can rotate that and it stays in focus. Okay, now on these types where the ring comes around and snaps, you'll look right there. You'll see a little part of the tang that sticks out and it's a little crooked, okay? When you see that little tang, what I do is I get a little pair of channel locks or any channel locks and I'm gonna straighten that, okay? Okay, so it was a little curved over and I straighten it up and down, okay? And as soon as I straighten it up and down, a little small screwdriver blade will get right in there and pop that out. I'm trying to get you in the camera and also do it. And normally you also have a little bit of a longer hose to grab onto, so this is like a little small piece. There we go, okay. So now I've kind of pried it out a little bit. I'm back behind the table, but hopefully you can see that I've kind of pried it up a little bit. And once you've done that, you just grab this, the channel locks that you were using, and you just grab the tang, and it just pops right off, okay? Now, to get this off, I'll use a pair of, not a pair, but I'll use a razor blade, and I'll just score that. And sometimes I'll score it on both sides, because sometimes you need to take these off because they're leaking or something like that. And then back to this guy, and it just comes right off. It's making a liar out of me because it knows. See, I'm trying to explain and do, and if I was doing this without the camera going, I would have been done by now. There we go. So that leaves us with this profile right there, okay? So here you would take one of these little rings and you would slide the ring on. Don't forget to do that. And then you'd put this on it. Again, I'm trying to make sure you guys are in the shot. So make sure you see it all the way. Now there's 2 ways to crimp these. Actually, there's probably more than 2. One of them is a fancy crimping tool like this, okay? And the other one is, I've got one from Koepp, which has this funky profile on the top, and I've been using this more recently because you don't need to have the big fancy type. This does just fine, and it's made for these types of rings. So then you just grab this, make sure it's kind of in the center of the deal, and you just kind of squeeze it, and there you go. And that makes a really good fitting there. And I've not seen these leak. The way this would have worked is you would have put it in there and you would have squeezed it as well, okay? Now I have, on these types of leaks, I have seen sometimes they didn't get squeezed all the way tightly and they do leak right in here. And so really all I would do is just grab this tool or this other tool and just give it an extra squeeze, and that makes it tight. So right now it's really tight, okay? And then that leaves the brass one that you were referencing there, Kevin, on this with the, so I don't think that, so if it's leaking from here, tighten it. If it's leaking from here, then tighten that, squeeze it a little bit more. I've never had a problem with these leaking. The only reason these would leak is one of 2 reasons. One is it wasn't seated in all the way. That's the reason I make that mark. The second reason is if the pipe is not perfectly round on the outside, and like I said, I pulled my ladder. It was underneath my ladder. I pulled it out, left a little gouge in it, and that made it leak. And where's the other one? This one. These usually don't leak either. So, Kevin, I hope I've answered it, but I think that just going through and changing everything over to brass, I don't think that's going to fix anything. I think that the plastic plumbing fittings that we use in this industry are just fine. I think that if they're leaking, it might be because of the reasons I've already mentioned. So anyway, hope that helps. And so thanks for watching. All right. Well, folks, that's all the time I have right now for answering questions. If this added value to you and it was helpful, please give us a thumb up. It's just a little thing you could do. Subscribe to our channel, ring that bell, and or click the bell icon. That way when new videos come out, you'll be notified. And you can support us on Patreon. On our website, we have links where you can check out our store merchandise. We make some tools now. I'm making tools for you guys now. That's kind of a fun little venture we've started. And we've also got some Amazon links on our store as well. So if you need a tool or something, you know, show some love. That would be kind of fun. So from all of us at RV Works, we really appreciate you. It's a privilege. Thank you.